Wide Awake in South Mississippi is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is the story of Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother, Kobe Bahanovich. Together they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. The Wide Awake in South Mississippi podcast is hosted by Anthony Allen. If you have a news story or if you are a political candidate and want to get on the show, please give me a call at area code 904-860-2502. All right, y'all. Another episode of Wide Awake in South Mississippi, and it has been a day, folks. It has been a hell of a day. Today was the runoff for District 115. There was a couple of things, but I'm just going to focus on 115 for this because it's the only one I really cared about. Zach Grady, Felix Gines. Now, if y'all know, I supported Felix Gines. I make no apologies that I supported Felix Gines. Felix Gines was not successful today. He's still willing and able and ready to continue his job as a city councilman for Ward 2 in Biloxi. But Zach Grady won. The numbers, and I'm looking at WLOX right now, for the runoff for District 115 is with 98% of the votes in as of 9:35, which is the time I'm doing it right now, p.m. Zach Grady won by 718 votes to Felix's 443. So 62% for Zach Grady and 38% for Felix Gines. Before I get into this, I just want to say that though the supporters, some of them, not all of y'all, but some of the supporters for Zach Grady behaved in a very appalling manner. That being said, and I will address that in a little bit, I hope I'm wrong about Zach Grady. I hope what I have said, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm already on record as saying it. But I hope what I have said about Zach Grady proves to be wrong. I hope and pray that he actually is able to go and do the right thing, make the right choices in Jackson, and serve the constituents of District 115 well. I hope that I can come on here after the next state legislative session and say that I was wrong. Time will tell. That being said, this being such a low turnout, I mean, we're looking at less than 1,200 votes as of right now. I don't think that there was going to be too many absentee votes or too many absentee ballots being counted. I don't anticipate too many more ballots being added to those numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and call it roughly less than 1,200 votes as a turnout for the runoff election. Folks, let me help y'all out on something. I know it's cool to vote for president. It's a little less cool, but somewhat cool to vote for governor. It's even less cool to vote for your state senator, your state congressman, your U.S. senator, and your U.S. congressman. The sexy race is the presidential race, and this is not a presidential election year. That would be next year. Let me help y'all out with something, and I've said this many times. Local, county, state, and then federal, in that order, has the most direct control over you, over your lives. Your city councilman or city alderman, depending on where you live, your county board of supervisors, county commissioners, whatever you call them in the area that you live, wherever you may be listening. If you happen to be over in Louisiana, replace county with parish. Your state representatives, your state senators, your governors, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, insurance commissioner, congressman, your U.S. senators. And my phone rings. I love that. Seems like it's been doing that all day. Anyway, your where was I? U.S. congressmen, your U.S. senators, then your president. That is the order of what is going to affect your life from greatest to smallest. Joe Biden has zero effect on my life. Yes, some of the decisions he makes affect my life. Obviously, his foreign policies somewhat affect my life, whether, somebody I care about may have to go fight in some foreign country that we've got no business in. His foreign trade may have something to do with the price of inflation, gas, whatever, the economy, whatever. But really, in the grand scheme of things, do you know who has the most control over my life? Is the city councilman where I live. That's who has the most control. If I owned a house and I wanted to put up a shed, or if I wanted to open up a business, I have to go and get the permits from the city council. If I live out in the county, I may have to go to the county board of supervisors. I may have to go to, court. And maybe I want an honest circuit court judge sitting there. Maybe I want an honest chancery court judge sitting there. Maybe I want an honest justice court judge sitting there. Maybe I want an honest sheriff sitting there. Haven't I talked enough about the sheriff? Maybe I want honest people in local government, because those people have the most effect over our lives, and yet these are the elections that we pay the least attention to. State senators, state representatives, yeah, they're good in Jackson, but nobody really talks about them once the election is over. Dixie Newman and Scott Delano had their thing a couple of years ago. I actually borrowed a little bit of their story and put it in my book. Who talks about them now? Who talks about Scott Delano now? Nobody. Does anybody listening even really care who he is or what he does? Probably not. Can anybody tell me anything he's voted on the last session? Maybe a couple of y'all can, because a couple of y'all are watching. But the vast majority of the public down here on the coast can't tell you. Half of these people down here can't tell you who their state senator or their state representative is. So Zach Grady may have won today, and he may be the state senator. But a year from now, a lot of people probably won't remember his name. And that is the sad truth. That is the sad truth. I may not remember his name a year from now. I'm going to be honest. Hey, I'm guilty on this. I'm guilty on this. I should pay more attention too. And I will admit that. So once he gets up there, nobody's going to remember. Y'all remember when Tate Reeves and the legislature decided to screw us out of a vote and take our ballot initiative away? Don't get me started on the state flag. I'm trying not to get into that. I want to talk about something more important, which was the ballot initiative. Ballot initiative is gone. It's kaput. We have no ballot initiative in this state anymore. That was our way of saying, this is what we want. We have 100 and however many thousand signatures on a petition to the Secretary of State's office, and we want this to be on a statewide ballot. We don't have that anymore. And Tate Reeves, Delbert Hosemann, neither one of them have made any effort to give that back to us, yet they're probably going to be reelected this year. They won their primaries. Delbert Hosemann beat out Chris McDaniel. I know there was 2 other candidates running against Tate Reeves, but I couldn't tell you their names. You didn't hear about them. You didn't see any commercials. You didn't see any signs. The only sign that you were seeing down here was Brandon Presley, who's running for the Democrat Party. And I don't see a Democrat, even though he's getting my vote because I'm not voting for Tate Reeves, I don't see a Democrat winning on a statewide election in the state of Mississippi, even though 74% of the population who voted yes on ballot initiative 61 was ignored. We said we wanted medical marijuana. Now, I don't smoke it. I can't stand marijuana. I can't stand the smell of it. Personally, I'm against marijuana. Politically, I'm for it. For the reason of it's none of my business what somebody else puts in their own body. Libertarian, that's the way I feel. But they got their election. They won their re-election. And the reason they won is because voters, not just here in Mississippi, but voters as a whole have very short memories. We cannot see beyond the end of our own nose. And once it's over, you give it a year, it'll die down, people will shut up and go away, and we'll get on to something else in our lives. This is what they have come to expect from us, and we've done nothing to prove them wrong. We don't hold our elected officials in Jackson's feet to the fire and say, you will give us back our ballot initiative. You will give us this. You will do this. No, we don't do that. We get mad, we raise hell, and then we go on about our day. We go on about our lives because we're not career politicians with state paychecks that get paid to go sit in the under the rotunda there in Jackson at the Capitol building, act like we're mad at each other, and then go and drink scotch later on. You know, you'd be lucky if you could afford the good single malt when you get off of work. I know I would be. Granted, I'd love a good single malt right now. But they'll sit there, they'll act like they hate each other, and then as soon as the cameras are turned off and nobody anywhere else in the state's looking, they're breaking out the 18-year-old single malt. I'm not saying that they all are Jeffrey Epstein's clients, but you get my point. Just to mention, I said 18-year-old, I said scotch, not an 18-year-old child. Anyway, long story short, we need to pay more attention. Good luck to Zach. Felix, I'm sorry, brother. I hope you continue to do well and serve us well as a city councilman for Ward 2. Zach, good luck. I hope you decide that you're going to represent the constituents on the coast instead of the politicians in Jackson. This brings me to my next point. Somebody mentioned to me today, while they were cursing me out, but that's beside the point, that nobody in Jackson wanted Felix Gines up there. As a man who hates the establishment, y'all know this, I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. I think both parties equally take part in screwing all of us. And I believe this wholeheartedly. If the Jackson politicians want somebody from the coast, my opinion, and again, Zach, I hope I'm wrong, but my opinion is there's a reason for it. Usually that reason is because they want that man to take orders. And I know Felix has been in politics for a long time, certainly longer than Zach Grady. As a matter of fact, I can't remember if Zach Grady ran for anything. I heard something about he may have ran for D'Iberville City Council. I don't know that to be true, so I'm not going to say that that is true, but I have heard a rumor, and if it is, so what? I don't think he's ever been elected to anything. So, I mean, he's got that "I'm not a politician" slogan behind him. Boy, we all remember that from the currently indicted former president. That being said, if the Jackson politicians don't want you, my opinion is that's a good thing. If the Jackson politicians are cool with you being there, it's probably not a good thing. That's my response. Again, I hope Zach Grady proves to be a coast man instead of a Jackson man. And I wish him luck on his new position. I really do. I have no hard feelings toward the man. I don't even know him. And again, 6 months to a year from now, nobody's going to remember who he is anyway. And he's probably going to be reelected for a very long time. From what I could tell, he seems like a young man, probably about my age, so he may be looking at the next 20, 30 years in Jackson. And if that's the case, we're the ones to blame because we're not paying attention if he's not representing our best interest. If he is representing our best interest, we still probably won't pay attention to it because many of us don't. And that is the truth. It's sad, but it's true. We need to be paying attention to this stuff. I certainly need to be paying better attention to it, and I encourage everybody else to as well. I'm not going to get into what I was going to get into about his supporters because it really doesn't matter. I had a couple of things that I was going to say about it, but I'm going to let it pass. I'm going to encourage everybody to wish him well and wish him good luck on his new position as a state representative for District 115. You won, buddy. I hope it's what you think it's cracked up to be. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Truth be told, Felix losing, my opinion, may be a good thing for the city of Biloxi, because that means that he can actually continue to serve the city of Biloxi and continue to serve Ward 2. And I know I'm going to catch some flack on that from some people, and I don't care. I think he's doing a great job. So, selfishly, I'm kind of glad Felix is staying on the coast and staying at his current job where he is flourishing. Y'all have a good night, good morning, whatever it is, whatever time it is when you listen. Wide Awake in South Mississippi. Y'all have a good night.